talking about SNL, the history, the mysteries, and all the hot impressions in between, breaking down all the numbers as well. In your favorite sketches with special guests, it's on the Saturday Night Network.
Yes, that is right. Welcome everybody on into the Saturday Night Network for some breaking news here on this Tuesday afternoon, coming to you right after Labor Day with an announcement of the new cast members for season 51 of Saturday Night Live. Last week was all about the people who were sadly let go. This week, we could turn the page and focus on our new friends that we'll be talking about for many weeks here, and as the new season is slowly coming our way. So very excited to introduce you to all of them and talk through our thoughts on them being hired for SNL. First up, let's bring in Bill Kenny. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing great, John. A rare day-night doubleheader with you here today. So excited when I got the call and excited to talk about some of these people.
Yes, as the great Ernie Banks would used to say, let's play two. We're gonna have some fun today, so it'll be a good day while we're talking through these. And Law Murray's back with us. Law, how are you?
I feel good. Happy September to everybody. And I was not expecting this announcement to come this early, so very happy to be on with you guys.
Yeah, so typically when they do the process of hiring new cast members, they will audition, and then a couple weeks later there will be some sort of callback situation. I haven't heard about any callbacks. I think they were supposed to be sometime this week. That's like when it usually goes down, but they didn't, and I think they knew who they wanted right away, and they chose those people, and this is what we ended up getting, some of which we had already heard some rumors about, so we'll talk through these, and we'll also talk through some of the people we may have not heard about prior to today. So let's get started with the big news that was announced today at 2 p.m. Eastern, where we got the press release from Saturday Night Live that said that Saturday Night Live has added 5 featured players to the cast for the upcoming 51st season. So this is very exciting, Bill. 5 new players. That's a large amount of new cast members added. What do you think about that number, first off?
Well, I think we know now that the musical guest will be Arcade Fire, right? So we're going to go right back to that. Yeah, this is a huge haul for SNL to bring this many new people in. Obviously, one of those people that we're going to discuss has been around the show quite a bit, but this is a new role for them. So yeah, this is exciting. New blood is always fun to see. As the show, the way the show morphs now, where there's people that are on for 10 years, people on for 3-4 years, and then bringing in new people. I think it really works for the flow of SNL most of the time. Be interesting to see who stands out from this crowd.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that it is interesting where a lot of people felt that last week the cast was being pared down. We actually now, if everything remains the same, have one more cast member than the previous season. So we're up to 18 total players. Law, what do you think of 5 new cast members being added here?
This is the largest new class in a dozen years as far as being ready to start the year. And I think we all, you got to go all the way back to 2013 when they had 6 new players to begin that season. That's the last time you had at least 5. The show hasn't done this that often because 2013 was the first time they had at least 5 new cast members to begin a year since 1995. So, you're talking what now, twice in 30 years that the show added this much infusion of new performers at the same time. Now, obviously, you remember how 2013 went. The show got shamed into hiring a Black female cast member. That's how Sashir got on. And we also knew that there was going to be a change in the Weekend Update desk in the middle of that season. That's when Colin Jost debuted as well. So ultimately, there are 8. And a lot of those new cast members back in 2013 didn't stick. I wonder how many stick in 2025, because what's happened in recent years, I know you guys had the show last week to discuss the departures. There's been a lot of one and dones. There's been cast members who they got promoted but didn't stick after their promotion. So, just by the numbers, we're going to get a great cast member out of this bunch, and maybe we'll see how many of them are still in the show 2-3 years from now.
It's going to be very interesting. So this is how we're going to do today. And we will also talk a little bit about Heidi Gardner leaving the cast, who that was announced after we did our breaking news show last week. So we'll make sure to cover and give our thoughts on Heidi as well. But I want to talk about these new cast members in two different categories. I think a lot of the publications will do these in alphabetical order, but I think there's probably a better way for us as the super fans to break down what we're seeing here and analyze who was added to the cast. I want to start with our category number one, which is people that have been in the mix for a while. And then we have more of our unknowns. So let's talk first about Ben Marshall being added to the cast here. Obviously, a member of Please Don't Destroy. He's been at the show. You've seen him in those videos for the last few years. So, as was alluded to on Late Nighter last week, the breaking up of PDD is something that has been rumored. I had heard about this a little while ago and, figured that it was probably Ben was the one who was going to make it to the cast. But, look, PDD had some really great success early on. Clearly, they had a movie that, there was a lot of hype for it. I think the hype died down a little bit over the last couple of years. I mean, I know people were seeing on tour and stuff like that, but for whatever reason, it just didn't fully materialize into the level of some of the other groups we've seen in the past. And now we end up having one of them join the cast. I believe we also have news that one is leaving the show and one is staying on as a writer. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. But Ben Marshall, who you may know, is joining the cast, Bill. So how do you feel about this?
Yeah, we touched on this. It kind of broke while we were talking about the departures last week, that there was rumors of this. And this is kind of shocking because they are still touring. They're still hardcore touring together. And, I said at the time that this is not an Andy, Yorma, Akiva situation where they're all coming into the show brand new. This is very strange to see that they would just promote one of PDD. And if this rumor is true of the person who's leaving, then that's really shocking. Is there a breakup of the group itself? Are they still going to be together off of the show? I don't know that you can separate these guys as far as who's more talented, who's more comedic, because they're all very talented. So this is a very strange choice to just promote one. We talked about this since 47. Were they going to promote these guys into the cast instead of just having to make pre-tapes? So very interesting choice.
So this is officially now out there, so we could talk about this properly. But it's just been posted by John Higgins on Instagram, where he put an article out from a reporter at Vulture. He said, "Please Don't Destroy's era of SNL videos is ending." John Higgins says, "I can't believe how lucky I was to be a part of the show. It was my dream and I got to live it. And to do it with my two best friends and my dad was an unbelievable experience. Thank you to everyone who made my time there so special. It made this decision that much harder. But for now, I'm excited to pursue acting opportunities that I'll announce soon. But today I'm just grateful for everything we got to do. As that fat little bear, Winnie the Pooh, once said, how lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard." So John Higgins is the one that's leaving the show. You would think, given the connection to his father, who has been a producer at Saturday Night Live for a long time, that he may be the one that's staying, but it is John that is leaving the show. Martin sticking around as a writer, Ben joining the cast. A lot of breaking news here as Please Don't Destroy is breaking up.
Yeah. I just look at the numbers, man. Please Don't Destroy started in 21-22 on SNL. That is to say, they got to be on SNL in 21-22. They obviously had their thing before SNL, but they were on almost every other show for a couple years. And then last season, there was a major drop off, So I feel like their time took a natural arc on the show. You debut, you get hot, you maintain it. And then last year, there was a drop off just in appearances. And even the appearances, they seem different. It seemed like it's like, hey, if we're going to do this, you got to do something different. I love their last sketch. I still have a banner of the lights on the plane, the prayer emoji with the no smoking one with Bad Bunny. So I thought if that's how they were going to go out, they went out great. And yeah, Ben is a familiar person. It feels weird just making him a featured player. It's going to be his 5th year with a facing role in the show. Like I get the formality of it, but I mean, just put him in a regular cast. Like we already know who he is and what he's capable of and how he can work with a variety of talent, fellow cast members as well as guest stars. So I think that certainly helps. It certainly helps everybody to have been in the cast, and shout out to John Higgins and Martin Hurley being around still. Yeah, I'm sure that's good for continuity as well.
Yeah, I want to shout out specifically John, who has been super nice to us at the SNN. Like he's been really, really just wonderful every time that I've bumped into him and really supportive of everything we do. Obviously, big congrats to Ben. And he really seemed like the likeliest of the three. Like I think when we first saw them in season 47, we had always wondered who was the Andy Samberg of the group, which I guess is unfair to Please Don't Destroy. But naturally, as analysts and people who talk about the show multiple times a week, you started to wonder. And, with Ben, who was appearing in Poker Face this summer, he's going to be having a part in Kevin Hart's upcoming Netflix film, 72 Hours, which will also feature another new cast member, Cam Patterson. So it's just the pieces started to be in place for Ben to take that next step in his career. Clearly, John is trying to do the same. Martin obviously has a lot of family ties and has been at SNL for years. So, Bill, final thoughts on the Please Don't Destroy breakup.
Yeah, it's very sad. I mean, this was a group that was just brought in such a breath of fresh air. I know people were fans of Beck and Kyle's pre-tapes. They never really hit for me as hard as Lonely Island did. So when these guys came in, and as Law said, like at the beginning, boy, every week we were talking about them, and there were very few misses. Their hit rate was incredible. So that part of it's sad. Very happy for Ben. The show has a history of bringing in unknown writers who have been in the writing room for a few years. Tina Fey, Colin Jost, the list goes on and on. This doesn't really happen a lot for somebody who's had a lot of screen time and has their name out there since, season 5, right, John? Like that was really one of the first times that we saw writers who had been kind of background players in all these first 4 seasons come in and have their face put in as featured players. So kudos to Ben. Hopefully Martin's staying as well, and we'll get more of the Hurley boy.
Yeah, that's very true. I wouldn't be surprised to see Martin in a few things as well. Ben is not the only recent cast member writer to become a cast member. We had obviously Andrew Dismukes make that jump in season 46, Bowen Yang in season 45, Mikey Day in season 42, Leslie Jones before that, which Law alluded to earlier, that whole situation. Colin Jost and Michael Che were both writers. So it does happen. There's throughout SNL is littered with people who were writers before they were performers. Jason Sudeikis, and of course, like all those people in season 5. So this is something that's not so uncommon in the history of SNL. The interesting thing is that how much does Ben's experience in the writer's room, the alliances he's already made with other people, because, he wrote a lot with his, with Martin Hurley, with John Higgins. Like, is that what's going to happen here? Is Martin Hurley going to be the writer for Ben Marshall on screen, or is he going to connect with other writers, other friends in the writer's room who are going to put him on stage more? Like, does he have such a big advantage over these other 4 new cast members? That's going to be a major storyline, I think, to watch, Law, this fall, is to see, like, is Ben Marshall just fitting into the existing cast? Is he really more of a veteran than a rookie?
That's how I'm going to look at it. Like, I know what Ben looks like as a cast member or as a performer on the show already. Everybody else is properly making their debut. I do think that, we hear about competition at SNL all the time. And that competition isn't just a matter of like what people are saying after something's done. Like everything about Saturday Night Live is about the preparation and about what goes into it. It's about what you're able to build as far as a rapport with your fellow cast members, the new cast members, the ones who have been there for years, as well as the writers, as well as getting Lauren's attention, So there's a lot that goes into it. Ben knows all of this already. He has some institutional knowledge. He has some things where it's like, I just think it's just ingenuous to treat Ben like a new cast member, like Ben's on another playing field compared to the other 4 who were introduced today.
It's going to be interesting. Again, all the people we talked about, people like Bowen and Dismukes and Mikey, they were in the writer's room, but they didn't have the on-screen resume that Ben Marshall has. So it's really been, I mean, it's like that situation itself is very unique. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen with Ben. Obviously, a lot more to be talked about there. I want to jump over to Cam Patterson, who's the next in this category of people who have been talked about to join the show. So it came out last week. I think TMZ had it that Cam Patterson was thinking about joining the show. I had also heard about this prior to when we went live to talk about Emil and Longfellow leaving the show. And this was something that was interesting to me because number one, was under the assumption that they were going for more sketch players versus stand-ups. But number two, Cam Patterson comes from, has a lot of experience being with that whole Kill Tony Hinchcliffe crew that Shane Gillis is very much a part of. And it's just like one of those things that I think is, obviously they're absolutely huge and a ton of people watch them. I just thought it was a very fascinating shift in the way that they would hire cast members if they bring on somebody like Cam. And his stand-up, if you go watch it, is very high energy, pretty vulgar. It's just something that like you're hiring someone who goes hard in the paint here. And I think that's very fascinating. So when we were on the show for breaking news last week, I sort of, I obviously didn't want to ruin Cam's chances, so I didn't want to say the name, but this was the one that I was talking about where I said that SNL might be looking for the more Shane Gillis type performers who are not afraid to say something. And they brought Cam Patterson on in the end. So this is going to be very exciting to talk about what we see from Cam this season.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Cam. I'm going to be by the time he's going to be on the show. I know that he takes a lot of jump shots and can't make them. So there's that. I did see he got to play some celebrity game hoops, and he definitely looked like a celebrity. That's just show. But I think it's really interesting that Cam is going to be on the show because it's like, you know how it is with stand-ups on the show. I'm sure we'll get to it with Tommy Brennan too, but with Cam specifically, SNL is like, how much do you think that you're going to change the show, and how much does the show change you? How much do you maintain everything that got your Q rating to this point, and like, do you allow yourself to be flexible enough just to fit and conform? And Cam does not feel like that kind of a player at all. And I think the show needs some danger. And it's like, okay, what does that look like? What does that feel like? Do we see it immediately? Is this one of those things where it's like Cam 1 week and update, have him slide in first episode of the season so everyone knows his face and voice and how he's going to do? Or is it going to be like they're going to slow play him? I'm really fascinated about how that's going to go.
I mean, I don't see how you can slow play this guy. I mean, he has a huge personality. He's somebody who you will know from the moment he comes on the show. And I have to be honest, Bill, I think that is what was missing from a lot of the new hires in the last decade, is somebody with a huge personality. Whether you like him or not will be up to you once you get to see him and get to know him. But this is one of those guys that I think from the moment he's on screen, you're going to be able to tell like what his brand is, how unique he is. And I think that he has all the makings of somebody that if he finds the right balance of what he does off the show with how to fit into that SNL machine, could be somebody on the show for a long time. So I'm actually excited about it, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this over the last few years, fairly or not, the lack of an alpha male on SNL for quite some time. But I'm reserving judgment because I do not like his association with Kill Tony. That bothers me quite a bit. I just don't know how that fits into the SNL that we know. But as we've seen from other people coming in from various backgrounds, Sarah Sherman, Will Forte, where they still do their thing, but they're more in the mold of what SNL is doing. Like, will the curve kind of just go 45 degrees or will it go 90 degrees? So that's going to be the interesting part to see. But yeah, the energy part of it is definitely something that I can look forward to. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt as we start here and see where it goes from there. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And again, I mean, we'll talk about this with Tommy, and we talked about this last week. You know, all these stand-ups that have come on and lasted 1 or 2 years, and we're still doing it. So, like, have we not learned from the mistakes of, like, the fact that this doesn't seem to be working on SNL anymore?
I will say it's a little different with Cam, I think, because he does have an acting background as well. Like I said, he's in that movie with Ben Marshall. I think he's also going to be in the upcoming David Spade movie, Busboys. So, like, he has a little bit of an acting career going on. I think he may fit into this a little bit more, just like I said, because his personality is so unique. Sometimes the thing with the stand-ups is, like, you're so used to just being, you know, with a mic, standing in front of the crowd talking, that as soon as you get in a sketch, it just feels like square peg, round hole. But I don't know that we're going to get that from Cam. And if we do get it, then we'll call it out. But I just don't know that that is the case here. For me, I get where you're coming from, Bill. I think that there are people who watch the show who won't be so happy about the crowd that will that currently follows Cam and is going to come to the show. But, like, I don't think we should be precious about this. Like, I think that SNL can afford to have way more people watching the show, way more people rooting on Cam and coming in here. I think this is the type of thing that's like, let's give him a blank slate, see what he's got, see how he does on the show. And I'm certainly very excited about it. So I definitely say he's in the category of someone who is something, you know, has something to be very excited about. Let's talk about probably the person I'm the most excited about joining the cast, I have to be honest, Veronica Slowikowska. This is somebody who was in the mix last season. So she auditioned for season 50. I was sure she was going to get cast last year. I think she probably came very close and just missed it. But like, I was watching her podcast. I was watching a lot of the stuff that she was doing. And, like, I'm like, oh, wow, she has that personality that could totally fit well on the show. Like, super, like, first of all, like, super strong look, super strong personality. Like, she's a star right off the bat, even before she joined Saturday Night Live. I think she's going to come in running into the show. This is like, you know, she's going to have a quick start, like the way that you saw, like, a Cecily have a quick start. Like, that's how I feel about Veronica, who is someone that if they had missed again on Bring Her On, I would have been really disappointed with. So, Bill, let me get your overall thoughts on Veronica Slowikowska. She comes in. She is Canadian, actually. So another fellow Canadian on the show, comes in from Barrie, Ontario. Her viral sketch content on Instagram and TikTok has made her a rising star. She's appeared in Tires, so another Shane Gillis connection there, and What We Do in the Shadows, and now joins SNL.
Yeah, John, I'm with you. This is the most excited I have of the announcements today. I love What We Do in the Shadows. She was so phenomenal in a small role in the early seasons of that as a vampire hunter. And of course, her TikTok is everywhere as far as that goes. So yeah, she's going to be, she has the potential to be, like you said, Cecily or an Amy Poehler, coming in fully formed, knowing what to do, coming into the show, and playing well with others. Like you see these sketches that she does on YouTube and TikTok, and she really knows how to work with others. So I think that's going to be a huge factor here. She's filling a huge Heidi-sized role. Maybe that's unfair because we have so many other great women in the cast. But for the only woman that has left thus far in Heidi, she's got a lot of potential and opportunities that could be coming her way.
She's not a Heidi Gardner. Even though she's jumping in for Heidi. And I'm not saying you're saying that, but I'm just saying, like, I don't want anyone to come in and say that this is like a 1-for-1 Heidi thing. I think she's more of a blend between Cecily and Chloe Trost. Like something that we may have lost a couple years ago with not having Trost return to the show. And the dynamicness of someone like Cecily, like that's where I see Veronica coming in. And I'm just, like I said, so pumped about this.
Yeah, I know you're pumped about it because where's she from?
Canadian.
Exactly. As soon as I saw that, I was like, "Oh, he gonna gas her up, man." That's great, man. I mean, John, tell me, it was the last time a Canadian was even in the cast. Like, it feels like it's been more than, I don't know if we've had one.
Well, Bowen, I think, was living in Canada for a long time, but obviously SNL has a laundry list of Canadian heroes, and going back to the days of Danny Aykroyd and, of course, Lorne Michaels himself.
Right. Going back to the days, and I mean, I'm not going to count Bowen. I mean, you can living in Canada is cool and all, but I mean, like, she's like real from Canada, like actually Canadian. I don't know if there's been a Canadian cast member in the 21st century, like of the show. If unless you want to count Bowen, and I don't want to. I'll let you count her if you want to. But like, I think that part's cool. I look at how the cast is going to, go through the rest of the 2020s, like who is going to be, of like the female cast of the show. I remember when I first started watching the show, Will Ferrell's last season, and then him leaving, like that was the first time I felt like the female cast of the show was the strongest part of the show, right? Like it was carried by Tina and Amy and Maya, Rachel Dratch, and then they got a gift in 2005 with Kristen Wiig. Like that took them through the rest of the decade until the men got their stuff together. And Veronica, I feel like, has her opportunity to, kind of help be the keystone that helps drive the rest of the show. I'm projecting clearly, I don't know how she's going to do, but I just look at the fact that, women have left the show in recent years. Heidi this year, Cecily Strong, Edie Bryant, Kate McKinnon not that long ago. Ego's going to, Ego's heading into year 8. See, Heidi just finished year 8, so we know what that means. And so, out of all the cast members hired today, Veronica's the only female cast member. I think that's a opportunity for us to look at. Okay, well, what's the female cast looking like now, and what's the sense of development there? And you've got Ashley, you've got Jane Wickline. Now, Veronica. You hope Veronica gets off to a better start than Jane last year, or Chloe. Chloe I thought was great, and I think she should still be there. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at like who's going to be leading the female cast of the show over the next several years.
Yeah, and let me say this: the men of the cast have for generations had like your A players and your B players, and the women, it was always 3 women at the show. Like we're not in that world anymore. Very happily to have a variety of great women at Saturday Night Live, and I think first of all, I love Heidi Gardner. We'll talk about her in a second leaving the show, but I do think that the women at the show, adding Veronica in here, is like awesome, because you think about it with Ego and Sarah. I'm gonna put Ashley like right up there with them. Like you have some really dynamic, strong women who get sketch comedy and have really good personalities. I think Veronica can fit right into that upper end female talent at the show. I think Chloe and Jane also have their own strengths. Probably, Chloe's great as a supporting player on the show, and you do need that. I mean, we can't only say that about, a man being a utility player. I think that Chloe can fill a lot of that beyond being an impressionist. She could also help support roles in other sketches, and I think Jane's still looking for her place as well. So to me, Veronica, a huge plus here. Obviously, great to have her join the show. So those are the ones that I'm like saying, okay, Cam, Veronica, Ben, like those are the ones I definitely expected to join the show. I did hear about these 2 others, but a little bit more unknowns to me. I know some people are pretty have some good information, so I'll definitely rely on the chat as well if you guys have more information on these 2. Let's talk about Tommy Brennan here first, who is somebody who, according to the press release, was selected as a Just for Laughs new face of comedy in 2023. So there was no JFL in 2024, but that doesn't mean that people weren't still looking at Tommy Brennan to potentially join the show. He performed on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Brennan is from St. Paul, Minnesota, and his birthday is June 1st. All right, let's talk about Tommy here. So another stand-up joining the show, Bill. So a little bit surprising that they went back to the stand-up route, but something we may get here from Tommy. So what do you think?
Yeah, I see Weekend Update in his future, right? Because that seems to be the only place that they can figure out where to put a stand-up on this show. I've seen his Tonight Show routine. It's very funny. It's a lot of what you got from somebody like a Dismukes or a Longfellow as far as stand-up goes. But yeah, I don't know very much about him other than that. So yeah, again, like it's just kind of shocking. To see them go back to the stand-up well with so many people that we've lost that just couldn't find their way. But You never know, right? I mean, this could be somebody who goes on Update in his first show, kills it, and is on Update the next, 3 or 4 weeks. But you got to get in sketches at some point. So is he going to have, if Mikey's still there, if you have, if Bowen's staying, what roles is he filling in here as far as sketches go?
Tommy appeared on This Night Show, Jimmy Fallon, in June 12th, 2025. So just a few months back, if you want to go watch that stand up, that's available on YouTube. Yeah, has a nice look to him. Very cute. Law, what do you think of Tommy joining the show?
Yeah. I think someone mentioned that you lose Michael Longfellow, you get Tommy Brennan.
Right.
And so that's kind of where you can look at this. I mean, there are two stand-ups, but I think the temperature of Cam Patterson and Tommy Brennan are completely different. I don't think you're asking Tommy to do anything you're asking Cam to do, and vice versa. It will be interesting to see if those two have any chemistry, those two in particular. So I'll be looking at that, and I feel like Tommy is going to touch things socially and politically that the show might need him to do, and so that's I'm trying to make sure that, like,
Why do you say that? Like, what tells you that?
Just in what he's touched on in his in his routines.
Okay.
I feel like that's where he's going to go. I feel like he's going to be topical, and so I want to see what that looks like. Again, like, how fast do we see it? How does that evolve? Like, and how much does the show change him to allow him to do things that he hasn't quite done before?
That's interesting. I do think that he probably has the biggest uphill battle to find a place at the show, just based on everything we've seen in the last few years with stand-ups coming in, trying to figure it out. They have added, obviously, like you said, someone in Ben who has that advantage of being at the show, someone like Cam who has incredibly dominant personality, and Veronica, clearly a star. Tommy's the one who I think might get off to a slower start. Now, it's interesting, where do they place him on Weekend Update? Do we get that whole thing that we got with Devin and Longfellow and Marcelo those first few weeks in 48, where we got to see them? As Bill said, maybe we get to see him on Update and get to know him early. But I think he's the one to say, okay, season 51, his rookie season, might be a little bit tough. Does he bring it enough? Does he have a moment in a sketch once every couple cycles where we see him and then we're like, okay, actually, Tommy's got it? I would say that I wish the best of luck to Tommy. I want to see what he can do. He's probably the biggest unknown right now, because the other new rookie that has been brought on, and we're at the fifth one we're talking about today, Jeremy Culhane, who is from a different background. He's from a sketch background. So that is something that we all expected that SNL would be looking for this year. Culhane's known for his viral TikTok and online videos, and is a regular on Dropout TV. He performs with UCB in LA. Colhane is from Altadena, California. His birthday is February 17th. So this is somebody who, based on his background, I figured that they would be looking for. I'm very excited to see, based on what they got with Ashley last year, if Jeremy has a similar approach to going into sketches and just killing with a couple lines based on his experiences. One of my best friends, Nick, who I talk to every day, he was like, oh, wow, Jeremy was hired for SNL. And I'm like, the new cast member? So he said he originally found him and 3 other guys he collabed with and made one of his favorite series called Lore. They were making sketches on TikTok collective called The Soft Boys, and he was watching him make some noise. So it's like he's compared him to a lot of people he used to watch on College Humor. So that is very cool to see. And clearly they're going back to the TikTok route because that's something that worked. It's interesting to see, though, with TikTok, I do think of Jane a little bit. Obviously, Marcelo and James had that as well. But, do we get the right path here forward with Jeremy Culhane, Bill?
I think so, because this is what SNL was built on back in the day. This is the foundation of the show. And we saw that a little bit with Ashley last year. Hopefully she gets more of a chance this upcoming season. But we saw flashes of brilliance from her. I think we get the same from Jeremy. The UCB part is very, very exciting to see. Obviously, Amy came out of there, a couple other people. Got a lot of, you look at his IMDb page right before we came on here, a lot of roles in smaller thing. So you don't usually see that many acting credits for somebody who's coming into SNL in this day and age. So that's also interesting. That tells you that he could probably play in the sketch world. So yeah, I'm behind Veronica. I think this is the most excited I am for somebody who's coming into the show, back to the SNL roots.
Law, what do you think of Jeremy?
Yeah, so you mentioned that you feel like Tommy has the biggest, like the steepest path to getting traction on the show, and I feel like it's the opposite for Jeremy. Like what Bill mentioned, that UCB is a pretty damn good track record of having cast members come in and fit the show. Like you need, like Saturday Night Live is a variety show. It's a sketch comedy show, which means that, like, yeah, it helps to be funny, but it helps to fit a variety of roles. And Jeremy has experience doing that. He's from LA County, like I feel like he has a great confluence of so many things that the show can draw from and put him anywhere. Like he would be someone besides Ben, because again, Ben is only in this conversation because he's getting a different title change. But like I would think out of all the new cast members, Jeremy probably leads this group in appearances next season.
It's definitely possible. I mean, he has, like I said, has that background to be able to do this. It seems like people really love him. And I think it's just interesting that the conversation will be brought up a lot more, especially when you have new hires where some are stand-ups and some are sketch performers, of like which of the comedy community are being rooted for the most. I know that the stand-ups outside are going to be like, oh, I love Tommy, he's so good at stand-up, or Cam's an amazing stand-up. And then the sketch people are going to be really hoping that that works. It's just going to be really interesting to see when you have so many new cast members. There's going to be some that are going to flourish, and there's going to be some that are going to be left behind. And that's what you get here when you have so many new people joining the show. So big news today with Tommy Brennan, Jeremy Culhane, Ben Marshall, Cam Patterson, and Veronica Slowikowska joining the show. It's going to be a little bit of a different looking Saturday Night Live. Of course, we don't have any official news on the final cast. If everyone does stay, like I said, 18 people in the cast, but it is possible that we have another departure or two before the cast is finalized. And of course, when we get all that information, we'll know for sure. But of course, we need to talk about Bill Kenny, the departure of the legendary Heidi Gardner at the show, who is somebody who I know you are a huge fan of. So let's start to say our farewells to Heidi, who is leaving the show after 8 seasons. How are you feeling today?
Better than I was on Friday. This hurts. This hurts a lot. I've championed her since the beginning. You think you get older, you get bitter. Your cast is when you're in high school and college and all that stuff. So nobody's ever going to be a Phil Hartman or an Adam Sandler or Jan Hooks to me. But Heidi just had it all. Like she was the first person that reminded me of Jan Hooks, really, that came into the show. The way she was able to morph into whatever she was going to do, whether it was a wife, mother, whether she was going to eat a burger that was the size of her own head, whether she was going to be, the stoic person who wasn't going to break in a sketch until obviously the famous one that we get in Beavis and Butthead. So she could fit into any era of the show. I'm saddened. I mean, she has so many opportunities outside of the show. She's been great on Shrinking, on Apple TV, and obviously she could have a movie career. She can do whatever she wants because she's just that talented. But yeah, this one hurts more than most for me.
Law, your thoughts on Heidi leaving the show after 8 years?
Yeah, first of all, shout out to Heidi. When I was working at ESPN and the All-Star game was in LA, that was her first year on the show on SNL. And so she actually she was at Staples Center, which that arena should always be known as, and we're not going to refer to its current name. And I just saw her and I was like, Heidi Gardner. She was like, hey. She had all this energy. That was super cool. I was like, yeah, I'm going to remember that. And now I'm remembering it today. So she was great on the show for 8 years. I can't believe she's leaving now when Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are tying a knot and whatnot. Like, I mean, she's
a wedding to plan.
I'm telling you, man, like if Travis and or Taylor Swift ever show up on next season's and during next season, I expect Heidi to be there. I will demand her presence there. But Heidi was great. It does not seem like she was on the show for 8 years. I did not feel overwhelmed by or annoyed by her extended tenure. I thought it was great that she was there. She did so much on update. Like, she had so many different things where she'd roll out, and I just feel like she was such a great fit for so long. So congratulations to her on her career there. Congratulations on the career that she's going to continue to bolster now that she has SNL behind her. And I completely expect her to be a part of whatever season 51 has in some way or another.
I told the story before, but this podcast would not exist without Heidi Gardner or her brother, Justin, who was a huge supporter of me when I first had an SNL stats account and was posting it, and then encouraged me to turn it into a podcast. And he's been an amazing friend. Heidi invited me to the show a couple years ago, and I got to go backstage on the night that she had her 500th sketch, and we got to spend some time together. And she is one of the nicest people to ever be at Saturday Night Live. She's also one of the best actors to ever be at the show. And I totally agree with you, Bill. When I first saw her and I got to know SNL even better, I was like, oh, I see the Nora Dunn, Jan Hooks of her. Like, she felt like someone from an era that, we really fell in love with, that it was so great to get someone like her back at the show. And for many years, there would be nights where we would watch the show and the show would be dominated by other people other than Heidi. But then when Heidi would pop up on Weekend Update, you would be like, oh, wow, that is the storyline. Heidi's appearance on Update or her minor role in a sketch or whatever it was. And everyone was just waiting for that moment to her to finally take over the show. And I believe that we got that in season 49, where I would put her on the DVD cover for that season. Like, I think she was incredible all year long, completely dominated, shows that she has the chops to be one of the all-time greats. And for me, she had an incredible career at the show that I think deserves to be celebrated. I'm super disappointed we didn't get a goodbye sketch for Heidi. I know we don't need to get them for every cast member, but when you've been on the show so long, you've been through a lot of things at the show. I mean, she was there going back to before the At Home show. She's the last one to have been there from her rookie cast. She's had so many characters. I do think that there was a place to say goodbye, and I'm disappointed that the show didn't allow that to happen. But ultimately, for me, I think that when that does happen, it is our place as fans of the show to stand up and celebrate someone as great as Heidi Gardner. And I'm looking forward to her getting her flowers one day when she does come back to the show, because clearly she has the chops to have an incredible career outside of SNL. And I'm sure that they're going to bring her back one day down the road. So thanks so much to Heidi. And I'm really hoping that we'll get a chance to have her on the podcast to talk about her career sometime soon. All right. Well, so today, 3:15 on Monday, that's it for the breaking news for now. Who knows what else will pop up? We'll be live in just a few more hours, where we are going to reveal the next 3 on the list of SNL's greatest episodes of all time. So if anything breaks between now and then, we'll cover it tonight. Otherwise, we got all week to talk about the incredible SNL season 51 news. So Bill, thanks for jumping on with us early today.
No problem, John. Let's just reveal them now. Forget it. Let's keep going here.
No, we got great guests later.
I know. I'm just kidding. No, thanks for having me. Glad to come on and be able to talk about this and talk through some of the new hires. Can't wait to talk about the episodes tonight.
Yeah, me too. And it goes without saying, I mean, let's give all of these 5 an opportunity to show us what they can do before we cast full judgment on the potential at the show. I think any of them could end up being the next SNL all-time greats. So let's see what's going to happen there. And we look forward to covering them week by week. Of course, you can see all of our posts and information about all of them at the SNL Network on all social platforms. Law, thanks so much for joining us and talking about these new cast members, man.
Yeah, thank you. And, we got 4 more Saturdays of repeats and then so on. So
back at it.
I'm excited for that. Does not need to start tomorrow. We need the time, but I'm really excited to have so much. We're going to have a ton to talk about. We had a ton to talk about last season. We got. It feels like a new era starting next month.
It does, and we'll be along for the ride every step of the way. So we got coverage every single week. Of course, we do have our full series of SNL's greatest episodes of all time. We're headed towards that over the next few weeks. We also have a new episode of Everything You Need to Know About SNL season 24. If you want to go back to some new cast members joining the show, and Jimmy Fallon, Horatio Sands, Chris Parnell, we got to talk about them. That's going to be coming out on Thursday night of this week. So very excited to premiere that for all of you here at the YouTube channel. And to never miss anything we have going on, hit that subscribe button. All of the new cast members, that's the one thing that they asked. They said, please subscribe to the Saturday Night Network. So you could do so on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify for never missing a show here. We are, of course, presented by LateNighter.com, one of the great late night television websites to check out everything in late night news. I want to thank Bill Kenny and Law Murray for joining us here today, and everyone in the chat for hanging out with us on this Tuesday afternoon. My name is John Schneider from the SNN, and we will see you next time, everybody. Have a good one.